Hey everybody, I want to bring in this unbelievable new philosophy, opportunity, but most important business in financial services from two friends of mine who I adore and think that what they're bringing to the marketplace is so fundamentally unique and different that is so vital for you to pay attention to this very short video to talk about this new company called Event Advisors. Now, we always start things like this off by talking about the origin story, like really, why are you where you are today? And so, Angela, you're going to go ahead and tell us just a little bit about how you and Elyse got together and really how that changed fundamentally how you look at events today.
Thank you, Matt. I have been working in the advisor marketing space since the late 90s. I was in-house at an advisory firm in Orange County, California for almost a decade, and I was the implementer. I implemented client communications, COI events, marketing plans, client events. I did it all. And then in 2008, I ended up going off on my own, consulting in this space of marketing plan implementation and event planning implementation, working with local advisors and wholesalers. I did this for over a decade, and in came the pandemic and everything stopped. So at that point, we started pivoting because we did all of our events and marketing plans at the advice of coaches and broker dealers, just what we needed to do, we made it happen. We really didn't think about the why, we didn't think about goals. If it worked, great, but a lot of times it didn't work. But we moved on to the next marketing tactic. When we had to do virtual events, everybody stopped to think, well, is this the right move for us? Is this the right marketing strategy? Well, now we can do a little bit in person, a little bit virtually. How do we put all this together? And at that time, I happened to meet Elyse, and her event planning background is completely different than the way it is in the advisor world.
So I don't come from the advisor world. It's sort of like a foreign language to me. But I come from the event world. I come from the entertainment, rock concert, rodeo, Disney on Ice, the college sports world, Final Fours, conference championships. The things that we did were very strategic, very well thought out. They had a purpose, they had a goal. So I thought that's just the way everybody did events. Right. And then in 2016, I decided to open up my own shop in what I called the event marketing strategy space. And really what that meant was it's event planning with a purpose, with goals, with understanding that you plan your follow-up while you're planning your event so that you're continuing what we call this moment. We can talk a little bit more about that. But when Angela and I met, and I was like, wait, you guys don't do it that way? And she's like, what are you talking about? So we're just like, we feel like events were kind of getting a bad rap. And we wanted to really put some muscle behind them so that they really get the focus that and the strength that they can bring as strong marketing tools.
It's an unbelievable marketing tool, right? And it's funny because, I'm sure there are a lot of advisors and wholesalers and companies out there who are saying, but we just have a person who does that, right? And that's actually, unfortunately, how they're treated, right? Is, she's got that or he's got that, right? So what makes event advisors different than other event planning companies in our space?
So the difference, like I said, it's about strategy. It's about goal setting. We talk about this all the time where one of the reasons, like Angela was saying, events don't work because people like to use ROI to measure success of events. I spent X, I make Y. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen. Therefore, it didn't work. When we look at an event as a moment and an opportunity, almost like a rock within your marketing stream, then you're setting goals and objectives to that moment. And that's going to define what the success is. It could be, I need to get closer with my clients so they make me referrals. Those would be like the types of goals that you would set. And we would do everything in the planning and the communication and the execution and the follow-up to reach those goals.
So you talked about a rock in a stream, right? So Angela, I want you to elaborate on that analogy because I absolutely love how you guys talk about that. Because, there isn't just one rock in a stream. First off, what is the damn stream you're talking about? And why are there these individual rocks in this stream?
Well, Matt, it's a great analogy, and we love using it. And everyone that hears it is like, oh, I understand. So think of your stream as your marketing, all of your marketing, your outreach to your client, and your relationships with your clients. And in the stream, you have rocks to get from one side to the next or get downstream. So think of events as one of the rocks. Social media can be another, your client communication can be another, your ops can be another. So think of all these as different rocks. And then around your event rock, you have different little rocks, pebbles. So you could have your client appreciation event. You can have an educational event that you bring in a wholesaler to speak on a certain topic. You can have a prospecting event. You can have a myriad of different rocks around your event rocks, and all of them work towards building the relationships with your clients, building relationships with referrals of your clients, and building relationships with beneficiaries of your clients' portfolios. And the reason being is everybody wants to increase AUM, but you also want to retain your AUM. If you have somebody that isn't quite on board, or they're uneasy, or they haven't really quite developed a relationship with you, and they have the opportunity to go elsewhere, they likely will. So if you start developing that relationship, you can keep the AUM. And if you develop the relationship with the beneficiaries, adult children, whoever it might be, you also reduce the risk of losing that AUM when the client passes.
Yeah.
So all those rocks help you get to the other side and help you get downstream. And they work together.
And they're part of the bigger stream, right? And so that's where I think, step one is on how advisors really look at events incorrectly. They really do it. They look at it as an ROI. So let's talk about a little bit more on the ROM, which you guys are famously talking about a lot, which is the return on the moment and the emotional impact, the emotional, what do we call it? We called it the emotional
memory.
Memory, yeah. So yeah.
You might not remember now.
Yeah, that's great. You're the one who's supposed to remember that stuff. All right. So yeah, take it away. Let's talk about ROM and let's talk about emotional memory.
Absolutely. So emotional memory, we're going to focus on what we call positive emotional memory. You are bringing people together to share a moment. That's your event, and whether it's, you can get into what it is, but the whole idea is you're creating a community, you're creating this shared experience. You want people to feel good about that, and they take that away. We often like to say, events don't end when you fold up the tables. Events don't end when you click off the Zoom, or they shouldn't, because there's a whole opportunity. You've created this community, this moment. What's the plan to keep that going, to keep the fuzzies going, to make the asks, to do whatever your goals were, how do you keep that going? So we really believe that no one is talking about or spending enough time in these relationship building event moments. We hear a lot of people are asking about, I do an event because I want leads.
Yeah.
Yes, but we also know 82% of advisors feel like they get their new business from referrals. What are we doing to kind of build those relationships? And how are we teaching those clients to speak kindly of us? And that's what this whole relationship building event moment opportunity is about.
Do you guys mind if I digress and tell a quick story?
Tell it.
Of course.
Okay. So one of the advisors that I had worked with many, many moons ago, did something called Breakfast with Santa. And what this was this is a client appreciation event. And what he would do is he would bring in a really high quality Santa, not like the creepy mall Santas. And he had a photographer and all of that stuff. And so you'd bring your kids and grandkids in, and then you'd get a picture in a little bit of time, real time with a real looking Santa, right? And then he would take a picture, and then he would end up sending that picture afterwards in a nice picture frame saying Happy Holidays, right? And then there was pancakes too. Of course, that was super easy because, you wanted to feed people, and there was bacon and sausage and pancakes and all of that sort of stuff. And it's so interesting to me because this has been years later. I ran into this advisor again. And I said, hey, dude, are you doing that Breakfast with Santa thing? He's like, I do it 3 times a year now. He said, I have 3 separate events because it is so full that we had to actually make it 3 events. And let's just talk about that from a emotional, impactful return on memory. Those people have that picture, right? And I'm just using that. It can be whatever denomination you want. It can be any holiday you want. It can be anything you want. Like one of my friends does a luau party, and he does it in the middle of winter because he lives in Oregon and it's freezing cold, and he wants to have something that's fun. But people have those pictures and they put them on their desk, right? And then people say, wow, what happened there? Man, I'm thinking about Angela and Elyse and that advisor, and that sort of emotional connection. There's so much power that goes along with that. What do you guys think about that story?
Absolutely. There's so much power with that. And there's so many different ways you can create that. Photos are kind of low hanging fruit, right?
Yeah,
We live in a
totally.
time, right. We live in a time of social media, hashtags, photo booths, that sort of how do you make the event live beyond its 2 hours? We have an advisor we were talking to, and he was thinking about sending flowers for Thanksgiving. And we're like, that's nice. And, your family comes around the table and they go, oh, my, what lovely flowers. Where did you get those? Oh, I got them from my financial advisor. Here was the thing. This advisor was targeting Gen X
Oh,
people. I came across a magazine from Lego. They had Lego floral centerpieces,
oh my gosh.
and I was just like, "This is it. You're pulling all the strings. That's what should be happening with these opportunities. How many strings can we pull? How many strings can we bring together? And how can we keep using those down the river to get people to not only speak kindly of us, but to stay in front of them and, as Angela said, not move AUM, keep family members, and introduce their friends, because the friends go, dude, those are really cool Legos. Where'd those come from?
Yeah.
My financial advisor.
Yeah. Wow, that is really Gen X, the Legos thing, guys. That's amazing. So Angela, since you're the person who was boots on the ground for so long, as you guys figured out what you wanted to offer from a products and services standpoint from Advent Advisors, who do you work for? Who do you work with? What sort of events do you guys hold for this community today?
There's a lot of questions in that one question.
Well, covered a lot of ground, sister.
So we work in the entire FinServe ecosystem. So advisory firms, small or large, wholesaler firms, and broker-dealers. You break each of those tracks apart, and we can provide our expertise, our tools, our timelines, our knowledge, our information about the potholes we've stepped in all these years so we can educate our clients to not step in those potholes. And we provide that knowledge in 3 different ways for each of those 3 channels. We have a DIY where it's a module, do it at your own pace, self-paced, 3-course module where they can learn all of the tips and tricks and strategies to create a strategic event. Then we also can coach in our mentor program where we can work alongside those teams to provide best practices, help them where they're stuck. And then there's full service where an advisor firm, a wholesaler firm, a broker dealer knows they need to do the events, they don't have the bandwidth, and we can handle it from A to Z. Within all of those offerings, we educate and produce strategic events. And what that means is not just implementing like I did for so long. It is creating the goal, deciding what type of event you want to create and why, then developing the goals for that event, then determining who the ideal attendee is and creating the logistics that target that ideal attendee. For example, if your ideal attendee is a single mom, you're not going to have your event middle of the afternoon because they're either working and or doing school pickup or both. You want to meet them where they're at. Then the most important part is creating a plan for the follow-up, everything beyond the event when you're planning at the beginning for the event. So we bring that whole process into the DIY model, the mentoring program, and the full service. And when we're working with broker dealers and with wholesalers, our process can be used internally for their own events, their own regional director events, as well as events that work with their advisors.
So Elyse, I am sure that people are going to want to know more. Where do they go? What do they do? How do they contact you guys to go ahead and begin the process of bringing you on to their extended team to truly help them execute strategic events?
Yeah. The quickest and easiest way is email us, hello@event-advisors.net. We do have a LinkedIn page, event-advisors.net on LinkedIn, website. Plus, we're both on LinkedIn individually as Elyse Stoner and Angela York. We're in there all the time. We're not hard to find.
You are
Call
not.
Matt. He knows where to find
Yeah,
us.
I know exactly where you guys are, and I will gladly direct people all over the place. Well, guys, listen. As a recovering coach and consultant in financial services for as many years as I did it, events are such an unbelievably powerful marketing tool that are just not executed well, and that is all the way from the conception of the event, the goal setting of the event, the execution of the event, the marketing of the event itself, making sure you're bringing in the right people, and then the most important part, which is all of the wonderful follow-up and nurturing you need to do to maintain that relationship, to remind them of that moment that they shared. And I've seen what you guys have built. It's absolutely fantastic. It's super clean and makes a lot of sense. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to find out more. So go ahead and we'll make sure that we have links somewhere around this video so that you guys can go ahead and click. But really, really the best thing to do is, I believe, is the hello@event-advisors.net is the best way to go ahead and communicate with both of you, because that's actually how I do it. But also, please make sure that you follow Angela and Elyse on LinkedIn, because they're always putting out great content, and more importantly, they're just really nice people. All right, so for Angela and Elyse, this is Matt. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.